fête, David.
T'es 45 minutes en retard.
David's life was going nowhere, but he's been given a chance to make a change.
Parce que c'est la plus belle chose qui peut pas m'arriver.
T'es absolument incapable d'élever un enfant.
Je veux de l'ordre dans ma vie.
Je trouve que ça, c'est de l'ordre.
Je vais te convaincre que je mérite d'être le père de cet enfant-là.
T'as aucune marge de manœuvre.
Pendant combien de temps?
Toujours.
Man, I always thought that Starbuck should get her own spin-off film from Battlestar Galactica. She's always really the most interesting character.
I feels you, man. The whole time watching this, I was like, this isn't set in space.
Where's Kara Thrace?
Where the hell are the Cylons and all the explosions and all the coolness?
When the fact is, that's because this is the French version of Battlestar Galactica.
Damn it, I knew it. The French gotta go fuck up everything.
Well, now, to be fair, it's the French-Canadian version.
Oh.
Even worse.
True.
It's funny because I thought this was like just straight French until just now. It's like, oh, it's Quebec, French-Canadian.
Yeah.
Quebecois.
Yeah. Yes, it has a certain Quebecois.
It's that place that David Letterman loves spending his time making fun of those people every once in a while in his little segments. I was like, that's the only way I ever heard about Quebec. David Letterman.
Which isn't to say that there's a certain amount of science fiction to the plot concept here.
Right.
I mean, I don't know about science really, but certainly definitely fictional.
Well, no. Now, there's a documented case of this happening.
Of the same thing?
Well, something similar where it wasn't so much like, hey, this one guy's sperm who donated sperm got put in all these women. It was a doctor who was like
giving his own sperm.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I've heard of that.
Well, because the idea here is that, as we see in the beginning of the film back in 1988, David, is played by Patrick Ward. I guess that's the guy who actually, who plays him all the way through.
Who was formerly in Bon Cop, Bad Cop. Which I was like, shouldn't that be Bon Cop, Mal Cop? I mean, why you go English?
It's Quebecois.
Okay, there you go.
But we see him when he's a young man masturbating like crazy at a sperm bank, trying to make money.
Hey, who hadn't
like
done
anybody,
that?
Yeah. Except I'm not at a bank doing it. Yeah. Usually at home with Puffs Plus. Yeah.
I've been at a bank, but I was also going to withdraw some money at the same time.
I know, right? And they were like, get the fuck out of this bank! I used to just do it with blood. I had no idea. I was like, you mean this whole time I could have been whacking off the money? It's like a young man's dream.
Why is that guy jerking off to the ATM over there?
I think the world conspired to not let you know about this.
Yeah, and possibly rightly so, because honestly, if I had had the opportunity to do that when I was 18, I'd be making more money then than I'm making now.
Yeah, West Virginia would be called Cyrusville.
Yeah, it would.
No, I would love to meet all my Million Man co-host children in those napkins right now.
Whole civilizations have died in your chest hair.
A lot of tube sock societies going on right now.
But we see him as a young man, then it flashes forward to years later when David he's kind of a slacker.
He's a middle-aged loser.
Yeah, he works for his family as a delivery man
and a shitty one at that.
Yeah, really terrible one. It's really bad. His girlfriend is breaking up with him because he's just such a loser. He just can't be bothered to pay attention. He's being pursued by thugs because he owes like $80,000 for something that we're not even sure what it is.
I gotta say, man, I love these thugs because these, a lot of leg breakers, they'll wait for you outside and then, rough you up, pull you into an alley. These guys will sneak into your house and gently wake you up from your night sleep. Hey, time to get up. Oh, hey, what's going on?
I love
and then just beat the shit out of you.
I love that they were the same leg breakers from the Big Lebowski.
Right.
They're just hanging out.
Just hanging out.
I was like, are they paying rent there? I mean, it's like, they're always there.
We need the money, Lebowski. But and his girlfriend also told him oh, I'm breaking up with you and I'm pregnant with your child.
And she's a cop.
Yeah, and she's a cop, which is actually nothing really to do with anything.
Right, it's just an interesting thing.
And
if I may, I just thought that was interesting because it was the same thing that went on with
Corey.
No, what was that movie we saw? It was like Trailer Park Boys with the two guys who go on the trip to Whore Island. Clown. Yeah, it's that same thing with Clown. I don't know, I'm pregnant, but you're just so immature. I would almost rather raise this baby by myself than have you in his life.
And Clown especially, you can't blame her.
Right.
But at least in the beginning of Starbuck, you can't blame her either. He really is a loser. He's a loser that you'd like. He's a loser.
He's a nice guy.
He's a loser you'd be friends with. That you'd be like, hey, we always have him over for poker night. That guy's fun to drink with and talk with.
We usually win a lot of his money.
And then once he's gone, we say, why can't that guy get his shit together?
Right.
Stop inviting him to the circle jerks, all right?
But one day he comes home from work, finds a lawyer lawyer from the sperm bank he used to donate to tells him, look, there was a fuck up. It turns out like more people than were supposed to got your sperm. In fact, 533 children were born just from the sperm you donated. And as well, and this is a part of, that seems pretty unrealistic that would happen, but even more unrealistic was that, there would be any sort of like possibility of a successful class action lawsuit by the children to find out who he is. It's like, and what, I'm sorry, but wouldn't the paperwork be pretty specifically clear?
It would be ironclad that like this is locked down. And this information can't be given away. And I don't care what kind of lawsuit you bring. Sorry, it just doesn't work that way.
But here, 142 of them have joined this lawsuit and formed an organization to try and like find out who their natural dad is, who he only called himself Starbuck.
Yeah, he used an alias. Why not?
Yeah, of course he did. So, he gets he also a big loser friend of his, like, who looks like Newman from Seinfeld, to be
like Newman who got eaten by Artie Lang.
To be his lawyer, to try to keep the record sealed. But during this whole time, he's still fascinated because despite saying, I want nothing to do with this, his lawyer delivers him a packet full of like just basic info and photos about all the people on the lawsuit or his children. And who could help themselves from looking at that?
And I love how his lawyer got his license through like a Cracker Jacks box.
Yeah, right.
He's like, all right, now I'm in the process of getting my license, but we're gonna crack this case. This case is gonna make me famous.
He's like that guy. Have you seen that billboard? I think it's on Guadalupe. The guy's the rock and roll lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
He's got like a huge head of dreads and a big leather jacket. So
you do better with that guy than you would with this guy here.
A bad case of the mullet. Yeah.
But as he's looking at these, he starts being interested and he starts kind of stalking these kids one at a time and trying to insert himself into their lives to some point just to help them somehow.
Yeah, it's like, hey, look, I can't be your dad, but I could be your secret guardian angel.
Yeah. It's like he's doing a dad of the day or something. You know, like his good deed of the day. He's being the dad of the day.
He still has to go through his day, but this is more of a daddium to his day.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
Christ and Jesus together. Yes.
Just in one team.
Yeah, talk about
Bring
daddy
me
issues.
down.
Jesus Christ.
We have to stop the Punisher.
Tackle him.
Jesus hates me. This I know because of the puns that really blow.
Just stop.
But what makes this film work is that you're watching this guy you like from the beginning, but you're still like, Jesus, dude, you're such a loser. Kind of stop becoming such a loser as it goes along, as he starts learning about what it means to have more in your life to be responsible for than just yourself.
Yes.
And it's his outings, I think, that actually you start to, that's the charming thing about him. You realize that he does kind of care, even though he's very reluctant about knowing the faces of these kids, who they actually are. You know, I remember they give him a file with all the kids, all the faces, like in a envelope. And he's just like, all right, this is gonna go straight in the trash. But there's something that's just compelling him to want to know.
Anybody would look.
Yeah. And you just, and that was a great scene too. That was a great scene where he's just like, I don't know if, I'll fuck it, you know. And once he does, his journey with meeting up with these kids and them not knowing that, you know, he's his father. I mean, I really love that charming aspect of how they pulled that out of that character.
Well, it's the charm that saves this. Cause I can say up until that part, the whole setup for it, I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. I don't buy it.
Yeah, the premise is
these jokes are all falling flat. It's just going to be another one of these cute foreign movies, another Waking Ned Divine, not even that, whatever. But once he goes on that journey of stalking the kids and, you know, insert himself into their lives, they find ways to do it that they're humorous and they're heartwarming, and you kind of like that. And then once they start to follow his journey, I was like, okay, we're coming to that inevitable point where you go like, yes, but this is all built on a lie. Mm-hmm. And how is this going to shake out?
And what I like is that this does not pick the ways we've seen Hollywood films pull that whole, all of this is built on a lie, everything's going great now, but what happens when the truth comes out? They all kind of follow a very similar formula of hitting rock bottom. And this is not one of those movies that avoids that completely. And despite the ludicrous premise, actually goes a place considering what they've built that seems more realistic.
Yes. I mean, as realistic as just having all these people. I think I had a problem with the fact that like it made him a national pariah when everybody was saying, this guy is a son of a bitch for having all these kids and not taking care of them. It's like, is everybody missing the premise that he just donated to a sperm bank and has nothing to do with this?
I felt like something was lost in translation there.
Right.
Even though with the current news, the current state of the news, and people finger pointing, I didn't find it too far fetched. But yeah, it does make you scratch. I didn't find it too far fetched. But yeah, it does make you scratch your head, going, wait. Shouldn't the person who did this to begin with, shouldn't he be getting some of this flack?
It's the clinic that should be under fire, but they had every paper, plastering not his face, but his name. This Starbuck, he's a pervert, and he's an asshole. He should be thrown in jail. Yeah, and how dare he?
Even his own girlfriend, when he's asking him before anybody has any idea, he's like, what do you think of the Starbuck guy? She's like, oh, that guy, fuck that guy.
and that's great. I mean, it does kind of play with your idea of who this guy is and how he is demonized in the media. Yet, us as viewers, we're seeing that he's actually, going out of his way to be a part of these kids' life,
right?
Without letting it be known that it's him. And I think that was kind of a cool angle that they put, that little spin I actually did like, especially like you said, he talks to his girlfriend, but he also talks to his dad, about it too, which is a great scene.
I think one of the two strengths of this film, and this is, well, three really, despite the fact that it has a little trouble getting started, eventually it actually finds ways to be quite funny. There's quite a few setups here that are straight up laugh out loud funny things, and sometimes with these charming little foreign pictures, they never quite reach that level. They're just chuckle worthy. This has quite a few big laughs in it, and I think that the secondary strength is that even though it's a ludicrous premise, it's very far fetched. Once you put yourself in it, it's an intriguing one. It's what would you do if you were in that place? And it's not a question I think most people have ever asked themselves.
Well, that's like saying, what would you do if you were in outer space? It's like, I don't know, because I'm never going to outer space. It's like, this premise can never actually happen.
Yeah, but this could happen for co-hosts. So.
Well, who says that it hasn't, but no comment. But yeah.
I mean, I would just clearly, I go like, okay, Quebec is not the place for me when they do this. It is one where, for the first third, I thought it's never going to reach that spot. It's just going to, despite everything I've heard about it, it's just going to be kind of right there. People just love it because it's foreign. But it did win me over. And you're right, those big laughs do come. And it also, even towards, going into the third act, it really pulls that big question and that the characters themselves speak. It's like, hey, maybe these kids could have a relationship with this guy, but with the media demonizing him, why would he come forward? It's almost like saying hey, you know what? You guys need to back off because you're ruining everything.
Well, plus with the whole, the legality of that whole story,
right?
Especially at some point it's going to be about him versus his kids,
right?
And just seeing how that plays out, that's something. That's another part of the story that really got me involved. Where I found myself so engaged and so involved, despite I didn't have that much of a problem with the setup and the premise because I'm like, it's a fucking movie. Of course this shit ain't gonna happen. But I mean, let's see if you win me over with your execution of it.
Right.
And I think through really good characters, especially the children that he comes into contact with, the situations that they show in this movie, the different situations about, wow, how would you handle the situation trying to be a father, yet not trying to be a father by not, really letting these kids in on who you actually are, but kind of having the point of view of these kids looking at this guy as just a stranger,
right?
That just comes into their life and how they treat him and vice versa.
Yeah, with a flimsy story of why he's part of their world.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm just this goofy guy that you see every day, and you kind of have bonded with him, and that's all. That's all there is to it. He's doing it the best way because they're already grown. Potty training's out of the way. Most of them have gone to college. He ain't got to pay for that.
That's the only way I want a kid right now.
He comes in, no name, no attachments. They're friendly, gives them some sage advice, and disappears. And later you find out that guy was your father. What? That's amazing.
And that scares the shit out of me because there's a homeless guy that I always see at the store I go to. It's like, come here, buddy. Come here, cuz. How you doing? You getting laid? You having a good time? You get plenty to eat?
Take this quarter. Go have fun.
Yeah. Always giving me life advice, how to pick up women, the best places to get cheap booze. And I'm like, wait a minute, this guy? Wait a minute.
What are you talking about? I paid your mom child support. I should send her a lottery ticket every week. If one of them had paid off.
I'm doing that McDonald's Monopoly right now. So, I never give up on hope.
I think that ultimately what all this comes down to, though, is that the film like this won't work unless your lead star is incredibly charismatic.
Sure.
And the actor Patrick Ward, who maybe I've seen him in something else, maybe I haven't, I'm not sure. Apparently he's kind of a star over there, but
in Quebec?
He is amazing in this. Well, he's been in a lot of movies. He's got a pretty big,
Like Les Boys 3.
I don't know if he was.
I know. Right?
Les Boys 2.
I was about to say, if he's a movie star in Quebec, that means absolutely nothing.
I don't know if he was Bon Cop or Bad Cop. I bet you, apparently he was a cop.
And Funky Town. Don't forget Funky Town.
Oh yeah, I love that song.
But he is so good here. He's perfectly cast. He captures it exactly how it needs to be done with that mixture of like, he's pathetic, but you want him to do
Well,
better.
that's the thing. When it comes to having lead characters who are losers, they either fall into the category where you end up going, man, fuck that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Or the category where you like, man, I really want you to get it together.
Yeah, it's
Please.
like it's right there for you.
Yeah.
You just gotta like change your perception, the way you're looking at things. And this film's very rewarding in that sense. I mean, it's a feel-good film for adults.
Yes.
Not for kids, certainly.
You know, and we get so many movies where guys are, they're man children, and it celebrates that and lets them just go on about their life. And this is one going like, no, actually, you know what? You will be better off. You'll enjoy your life more if you step up.
What I kept laughing is like about this film is like, there's a lot of films that tug on your heartstrings. This certainly does to some extent, but very common is these films involving children and a parent where it's almost always a woman. And I say, yeah, it tugs at her ovaries, so be careful.
Right.
This is the first film I've ever seen that tugs on your testicles. It makes you go, oh man, maybe I should have a kid.
Not me.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, a lot of those kids that he fathered makes you think that, but that one that figures out and comes to live with him, I'm like, I gotta have some kind of weirdo goth kid. Maybe not.
Oh,
Yeah,
don't be like that.
You realize Robert Smith is one of your kids. You're like, oh, fuck.
Bullshit. You'd be like, wait, how much money do you make every year? I love you, Robert Smith.
Well, I'm talking about Robert Smith without the talent.
Right, exactly. a
Plenty
Robert
of those
Smith
around.
wannabe.
That's true.
I was like, son, the 90s are over, right?
80s. But ultimately, I did thoroughly enjoy this film. I thought, the uncomfortableness in the first act was necessary to really see how sad and pathetic this loser was. It was uncomfortable because you worried that we would have to like him for being that guy all the way through the movie, and that's not the type of film that this is. The biggest problem with this movie is that they're remaking it in America, the film called The Delivery Man with Vince Vaughn playing this role, and I kept picturing as I was watching it Vince Vaughn in this role going, yeah, there's no way he's going to do as good a job.
And surprisingly, it's the same director.
Is it the same
It's
director?
the same
doing
director,
it?
yeah. I heard it was the same director.
Do not get
Yeah.
excited about that. This is
Yeah.
going to be even worse. It's like some Canuck coming over here in the studio just telling him like, look, shoot it like this.
Well, apparently
Do
there's
that.
already a Bollywood version of it called Vicky Donor. But, yeah, this is,
I have to see that now.
Man, it's a franchise now.
Spielberg and DreamWorks are producing this, which, like I said, I mean, I like Vince Vaughn, but it seems like there's maybe going to be too much nuance to this role, for him to be able to capture, especially considering, the things that just don't make sense here, you're able to get past because all the stuff that works. If they don't find a way to finesse that stuff, Vince Vaughn may not be strong enough of an actor to get past that.
I kept thinking, why don't they just hire Mel Gibson and give him his Riggs haircut? Because the guy in this movie kind of reminded me
does have
of
that-
Mel Gibson
that
in
Mel
Lethal
Gibson
Weapon.
mullet.
Yeah, that mullet, that bushy mullet. That he-
There's that point of that film that he's wishing a helicopter would come by and take out the place his girlfriend is living.
Danny Glover can co-star.
So Cyrus, what do you give it?
I'm going to give this a low full price. I think this is a film that evolved as it went along to one of the better comedies I've seen so far this year. Really charming, really funny, and kind of original. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just about right there with you. I think I'm still a little more down about the first act than probably you guys, because I thought it wasn't so much uncomfortable as it was awkward. Like, just not quite, not that it wasn't fitting together, but it just, like, writing wise, it just wasn't up to snuff. It wasn't winning me over.
The whole scene where he's masturbating in the cup with all the magazines.
Oh no, that was glorious.
Disturbed you. What?
It just went downhill from there. Wait, okay, edit that part out. But it's still a very likable film. And I definitely give kudos to any film that can win me back. And this did in a big way. I give it a very high matinee.
I found myself getting really wrapped up in this story, especially with this character who you're right. He is charming as hell. He has a really great screen presence. I hope you get to see more of him, at least in some American movies down the road. But yeah, I mean, it is in every sense of the word charming as hell, and I dig that, especially when it doesn't feel so, It doesn't get to the point where it's so cheesy and unbearable that you're just like, all right, fuck this. At what point does Julia Roberts show up and Sandra Bullock, but no, man, you're right. It is probably one of the better, independent movies. This is an independent film, right?
Well, I mean, it's foreign.
Foreign, yeah. But one of the better foreign films I've actually seen in a while, that is definitely a crowd pleaser. So yeah, I really dug it. I'm giving it a full price.
I keep thinking we were joking earlier about Corey being in this part, but the truth is this would never be Corey, at least in this exact story. The difference would be the 533 children would all be from women he had actually personally. I was like, oh,
good point.
Although they might still think his name was Starbuck. Yeah, baby, I'm Starbuck.
Yeah.
The Dama just sounded too stupid.
Qu'est-ce que tu penses de ça pour l'affaire Starbuck?
Non, c'est un pervers. Il n'y a pas d'autre mot qu'un pervers.
C'est pas un pervers.
Oui, c'est un pervers.
C'est pas un pervers.
Starbuck.
Je peux vous aider?
Avez-vous un modèle de poussette pour 533 enfants?